In 1957, in the cold woods of Colorado, Hope makes a call on a payphone at Camp Alpine Lake. She says she found the number carved into the ice in her strange dreams. When she tries to ask who's speaking on the other end, all she hears is static. Years later, in 1982 in Denver, Finney is beating up a new kid who begs him to stop. He only stops when his sister Gwen yells his name. When she asks what happened, Finney says the other boys started it. Since he survived a killer named the Grabber 4 years ago, he's known as a fighter. Just then, Ernie, the brother of one of the Grabber's victims, shows up and invites Gwen to a concert. That night, Finney can't sleep and goes outside for a smoke. His mind keeps returning to what he lived through, and he imagines the Grabber standing in his yard. Gwen checks on him, but he refuses to talk. At Camp Alpine Lake, a boy named Felix arrives hoping for fun. Instead, he runs through the forest, chased by the Grabber. He falls, and the killer cuts him open with a knife, tossing his body into the lake. Before dying, Felix scratches a letter W into the ice. Gwen wakes up. It was all a dream. A phone rings. Gwen opens the door and sees something strange across the street. Finney snaps her out of it, saying she's been sleepwalking again. She tries to tell him about her nightmare, but he just sends her to bed. The next day at school, Gwen researches supernatural events in the library. Other girls tease her, calling her a witch. Ernie drops by with concert tickets and says he thinks her ghost stories are cool. He shows her tarot cards his grandmother sells. He knows Gwen's dreams helped police find the Grabber's victims, which makes her uneasy. Ernie says he likes that she's different. Later, Finney passes a payphone and hears it ring. He answers, says, "Sorry, can't help," and hangs up. The phone is out of order. At Camp Alpine Lake, a boy named Cal joins camp activities. One night, the Grabber hunts him, captures him, and chops him with an axe. His remains are burned and thrown into the lake. Cal's ghost scratches a letter B beside the W. Gwen wakes up again to a ringing phone. Another nightmare. When she goes outside, she finds Cal's body in the yard. Panicking, she rides her bike to the Grabber's old house and sneaks through a window into the cellar. There's a black phone there. When she answers, she hears Hope's voice, the same one from her dream. Gwen realizes Hope had the same dreams, but the boys carved numbers instead of letters. Static cuts the line. She turns and sees the ghost of the Grabber's brother warning her to leave. The cellar door opens and the phone rings again. Someone steps down the stairs. It's Finney looking for her. She tells him she spoke to Hope, their mother, when she was young. Finney doesn't believe her and spits on the floor before they leave. The next day, Gwen finds a flyer for Camp Alpine Lake and says they should become counselors to investigate. Finney refuses. Their father, Terrence, overhears and says their mother worked there before it shut down in 1958. He dislikes the idea of Christian camps. Later, Gwen convinces Ernie to join her. Finney doesn't trust Ernie, so he tags along to protect her. They drive through heavy snow and pass several accidents. When visibility worsens, Finney tells Ernie to stop while he walks ahead to guide the car. A man named Mustang finds them and leads them to camp. At camp, they meet Mustang's uncle, Armando, the manager. He says no kids are arriving until the storm clears. As they walk to their cabins, Finney sees a payphone. Gwen goes to the girls' dorm, while Finney and Ernie take the boys' dorm. Both are empty. Gwen soon falls asleep and dreams of a boy named Spike from the camp band. The Grabber kills him too, carving H into the ice before his face splits apart. She wakes up, hearing scraping under the bed. Outside, Finney smokes as the payphone rings. When he walks away, it rings again. He answers, saying, "Can't help," then hangs up. It rings louder. He picks it up again and hears the Grabber's voice. "Hello, Finney." The booth door locks, trapping him. He kicks it, and the receiver falls. The voice whispers, "Hell isn't fire, it's ice. Nothing burns like the cold." Back in the dorm, Gwen checks under the bed and finds Felix's ghost. Cal touches her arm, burning her skin. She backs away as Spike appears at the window. Something behind him smashes it, slicing his face. Gwen screams as the phone booth unlocks. Finney rushes in, waking her up. She cries, thinking she's going insane. He comforts her. After tending her burn, she refuses to sleep alone and shares Ernie's bed. They talk about faith, admitting they grew up in strict families. Gwen confesses her mother's dreams drove her mad, and she fears the same fate. Ernie reassures her, and they almost kiss before Finney interrupts. Morning comes. Finney argues with Gwen for telling Ernie about her visions. She shows her burn as proof. During breakfast, Armando scolds Gwen for sleeping in the boys' dorm and doubts they came to work. When the siblings show him a picture of Hope, he recognizes her as a counselor. He's saddened to hear she ended her life 7 years ago. He tells them to call home and use the office phone. When Finney mentions the payphone, Armando says it hasn't worked in 10 years. As soon as he leaves, it rings again. Finney answers and hears a boy's voice saying, "It's cold. We shouldn't be here." Ghostly figures appear around the booth. They beg for help but vanish when Finney hangs up. Their father, Terrence, later calls to check in. He's worried and borrows a snowplow to reach them. Meanwhile, Gwen and Ernie ask staff members Kenneth and Barbara for camp history. Kenneth is kind, but Barbara mocks Gwen for sleeping in the boys' dorm and curses a lot. When they ask about the missing boys, Barbara says good Christians shouldn't talk about such evil. They argue until Kenneth makes them leave. That night, Gwen dreams again. Hope answers the phone while the dead boys beg for help. Felix appears near the forest, leading Gwen until he vanishes as red feathers fall from the sky. His jacket lies on the ground. Spike watches nearby. An axe strikes a tree, blood seeping from the bark. Gwen wakes to her door slamming and a brief glimpse of her mother's face. She steps outside and follows Felix's ghost. Finney wakes to a ringing phone, tells Ernie to stay with Gwen, and answers the call. The grabber's voice taunts him, saying he'll destroy everything Finney loves for making him kill his brother. Ernie runs to the girls' dorm, finding it empty. He races to get help. Gwen reaches the mess hall, following a light into the kitchen. Ovens burst open with fire. The grabber's ghost attacks her with an axe. She blocks and fights back, but he trips her with his belt and tries to choke her. The adults rush in but can't see him. Gwen's body is thrown against the wall, then lifted and hurled toward the ovens. Ernie grabs her legs while objects fly from the shelves. Mustang dodges debris and helps pull her back. Finney runs in. The grabber vanishes into shadows. They gather in the chapel. Gwen explains her dreams, describing the dead boys. Armando recognizes them and shows an old camp photo. Hope is among the counselors, and the grabber stands in the back. He was the maintenance man, called Wild Bill Hickok for his belt. Gwen realizes the letters W, B, and H stand for his initials. Armando recalls strange events began 4 years ago, the same year Finney killed him. Gwen concludes the grabber feeds on fear and that the boys' spirits can't rest. They must find their bodies. Armando remembers the lake being frozen, but Bill had tools for ice fishing. They agree to search in the morning. Later, Armando hears strange noises and sees a snowman outside. The radio crackles with the grabber's voice saying, "You made me kill my brother." Armando replies, "You can't keep them." The lights go out. He turns and finds a bloody mask on the window. The voice snarls, "That's not my name," before fading. Next morning, the group searches the lake but finds nothing. That night, Finney and Ernie decide to watch Gwen while she sleeps. She dreams of a boy named Billy, the grabber's first victim. Hope dreams the same, recognizing the killer as Wild Bill. In reality, Gwen starts sleepwalking again. She follows Hope in the dream to the grabber's house, where Hope finds a child trapped in the cellar. When she tries to call police, the grabber captures her. His ghost forces Gwen into the van too. He says he wants her to see the truth. The van stops at Gwen's home, where she witnesses her mother's body hanging. The grabber admits he killed her and made it look like suicide. Gwen weeps as her father collapses. The grabber raises his axe, and Gwen flees into the cellar. The black phone rings. Felix tells her to hide. She finds a hole leading to a door but can't open it. The grabber slashes her arm, and she bleeds in real life. Ernie tries to wake her but fails. Gwen finally opens the door and runs to the lake, hearing her friends' voices calling her name. Armando, searching outside, finds Felix's body and starts breaking the ice. The payphone appears beside Gwen, ringing. The grabber's voice says he must defend his power. He attacks Armando, pushing him into the freezing water. Gwen's dream self pounds on the booth door, striking Finney in reality. The grabber smashes the glass, choking Gwen with the cord. Her body thrashes violently as blood spills. Mustang throws cold water on her, yelling for her to fight. In the dream, Gwen hears their voices and focuses until the booth explodes, throwing the grabber back. She headbutts him and wakes up. They rush outside and save Armando just in time. He confirms finding Felix, and they plan to recover the others in the morning. When they return, Terrence arrives in a snowplow. Finney wants to leave, but Gwen insists on staying. They argue until she reveals the truth about Hope, convincing them both to help. The next day, they keep searching. Gwen falls asleep again, seeing the grabber skating on the lake. She falls into the hole, her real body soaking wet. The grabber attacks Kenneth and Barbara, killing them brutally. Gwen finds barrels underwater containing the missing boys. The grabber wraps his belt around Finney's neck, choking him. Terrence dives in to help Gwen pull the barrels up. She prays, freeing the boys' souls. Their spirits grab the grabber's ankle, and Gwen smashes his mask with an axe. Finney repeatedly slams his head against the ice. Gwen cuts off his leg and throws his body into the lake, where the spirits drag him under. When Gwen wakes, she kisses Ernie. Later, Armando calls the families to tell them the boys were found. Gwen hears the payphone ring. Her mother's voice thanks her for freeing the children and reminds her the dreams were a gift, not a curse. Hope says she loves them and hangs up. Gwen shares the message with Finney, and together they leave with their father.